Back to order. Can I get a motion that the closed meeting be closed, and the board certifies to the best of each member's knowledge only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting to which this certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion concerning the closed meeting were heard, discussed, considered. Going into closed session, we added contracts, so we're going to add contracts into that as well. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Honeycutt, second for Mr. Palmer. Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards is not here. Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. At this time, we're going to stand, pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Nichols, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Tonight we have quite a few recognitions, very special recognitions that we want to work our way through. And I'm going to ask Dr. Scales if he would come up for the ones for the students.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and board members. Tonight, we're going to recognize several outstanding accolades for students in Mecklenburg County Schools. First, I want to begin with the Bluestone Middle School ACE team, the three-time champions of the Southside District. Would they please come forward at this time? Again, they've done an outstanding job. I'm not going to talk very much. I'm going to turn it over to the coach. But the members of the team, we got Coach Ms. Gina Thomason. Mr. David Briggs is the coaching assistant. Janie Pennington, you can raise your hand and call your name. Hannah Johnson, Dylan Coleman, Savannah Allen, Connor DiCarlo, Nicole Newcomb, Levi Ruley, Catherine Griffin, Jackson Medlin, and Tommy Gregg. Again, your three-time champions at this year's 2019 champions of the ACE for Southside District.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Mr. Briggs for stepping in as assistant coach at the end of the season and being there for our team. I'd also like to thank our athletic director, Crystal Chandler, our assistant principal, Mrs. Sturtevant, our principal, Dr. Lax, for supporting our ACE team. I also want to thank our ACE parents for coming to the ACE meets and being our biggest cheerleaders and our biggest fans. And finally, I want to thank this awesome team for their dedication and hard work. This is my 14th year coaching the ACE team, and in that time, no team has ever won 3 years in a row, and this team did it through hard work and determination. They stayed after school 3 to 4 days a week, they encouraged each other, and they never gave up. In the final meet, it came down to a tiebreaker round between our team and Central, who was the host school, so they had a lot of support there. And our captains, Janie Pennington and Hannah Johnson, played very aggressively, just as they had all season, and they scored 90 points to Central's 45. And the BMS ACE team is amazing, and I am so blessed to be along for the ride. Savannah, Kate, Connor, Jackson, Dylan, Tommy, Levi, Nicole, Hannah, and Janie, you rock, and I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the future. Okay.
Parents, if you want to come up and take pictures, you can as well.
You want you just give them their certificate?
You can. Yes, parents, if you'd like to go and take photographs of your children, you can come up at this time, please. You say you already got it? What about volleyball? You going to do the same thing up here? Okay.
They are.
Big brains.
once again, the Bluestone Middle School ACE team. Next, I'd like to recognize the Parkview High School volleyball team who qualified for the quarterfinals in the Virginia High School League playoffs for 3A. So would the volleyball team please come forward at this time? And who you have before you, if I call your name, please raise your hand. Erin Bailey, Caitlin Campbell, Kaylee Coker, Canberra Graham, Cortland Hawkins, Chrislyn Johnson, Meredith Mosier, Riley Grace Turner, Carson Wall, Casey Wall, Deanna Watkins, Jordan Jackson, Madison Reese, and the coaches for the team, Ms. Beth Callahan and Paige Harris. These young ladies did an outstanding job this year. They were the Tri-Rivers District champions. They were the 3A runners-up this year in our region, and they also made it to the quarterfinals of the state against Goosen. I was proud to be there in the game, be there with y'all, and y'all played outstanding. And again, y'all have had a wonderful, wonderful year as far as that goes, and I'm very proud. We are very appreciative of all you've done for this year and for the county. So, you sure you don't have anything, Coach? All right. So once again, the Parkview girls volleyball team, state qualifiers. Parents, you can come up at this time, take photographs of the young ladies.
Get in the picture. Beth, get in the picture.
Coach.
Get in the picture. Hey, get in there. I didn't do it all season. I'm not gonna do it now.
And everyone that's getting awards tonight, if you all would stay so the board could recognize you as well after we get finished with the recognitions. Thank you.
Congratulations, but if I could have Cortland, Deanna, Canberra, and Erin to remain up here at this time, please remain up front. Because right now I'm going to transition for the students in our county that made all region and all state honors for athletics. Could I also have Emma Newcomb and Ashley Knott for the Bluestone High School volleyball team to come forward? Give my hand. And I'm not sure if these gentlemen were able to make it. Dontavius Wilson and Anthony Joyner and Rashay Taylor. If you are here, please come forward. But just give them a round of applause, please. Before you have members of the two volleyball teams from here in the county. These young ladies were able to earn not just all district honors, but they were also able to receive all region honors. For Bluestone High School, Emma Newcomb and Ashley Knott were not just all James River District, but they were also first team all region for volleyball. For Parkview High School, Cortland Hawkins was first team all region and also first team all state. Deanna Watkins was first team all region, and Canberra Graham and Erin Bailey were honorable mention all region. Congratulations, ladies, for an outstanding job at what you did this year for our county. Give them a round of applause. Got the pictures? Parents, who want to take your pictures, you can take them at this time.
Emma, you gotta get your picture.
Thank you much.
What am I getting? Oh, that's sweet. I love it. And it's autographed too.
Emma,
Autographed.
Who'd you get?
Huh?
Who'd you get?
Emma, it's autographed.
Okay, no, I wanted to know whether or not they did different names or whether they
Oh,
all
no,
did.
Emma, it's her gift to us for Christmas.
I see now, I see.
Once again, the all state and all region accolades for the district. Thank you. Now, at this time, I'm moving on to the seniors of the month. And tonight is the night of destiny, literally. Both young ladies from both schools are named Destiny. Tonight, we'll be recognizing the two seniors from Bluestone High School and Parkview High School. I do not think, is Destiny Pettis arrived yet? But give her a round of applause. I'll go and read her accolade. I think something's come up this evening. But I'll go and read hers. Destiny Pettis is the Bluestone High School Senior of the Month. She's the daughter of Tawanda Epps and resides in Skipwith. She is well known for her genuine mannerisms and caring personality, and she attends White Rock Baptist Church in Oxford, North Carolina. Destiny is a member of the Bluestone High School FCCLA and Yosovo Club. She's active in athletics as she's a member of the indoor track team, captain of the Lady Barons basketball team and cheering squad, and in her spare time, she loves to read. Destiny is waiting to hear from Virginia Commonwealth University for admissions, where she looks to plan on going to the school to major in science. In the future, she plans to stay in the Richmond area with the hopes of becoming a nurse practitioner. She wants to help others in the field of medicine. So once again, Destiny Pettis, I'll make sure to give this to Mrs. Wilkerson in just a few minutes. Give her a round of applause. The other Destiny is here. Could Destiny Pryor please come forward at this time? Destiny Pryor is the Parkview High School Student of the Month for December. She is the daughter of Tamika Good and has a younger brother, Jalen Good, sophomore at Parkview High School. Destiny is a hardworking student and is often seen helping her teachers. She's in the Teachers for Tomorrow program, and her cooperating teachers have nothing but positive things to say about her interactions with her students. We have no doubt that in the future she'll be an excellent teacher one day, hopefully in our county.
Yes.
Destiny is active in the Key Club, Drama Club, Prom Committee, and on the Color Guard team. In the community, though, Destiny volunteers with the Key Club at the Bread Box and the South Hill Day of Play. In her spare time, Destiny loves to cook, dance, spending time with her family and friends, and teaching younger children. Upon graduating, Destiny plans to go to the Southside Virginia Community College for 2 years to receive her associate's degree, and then transfer to Longwood University, where she looks to major in education. So once again, congratulations to Destiny Pryor. That's all I have. Thank you very much for all the accomplishments of our students in the county. They're doing a great job. And also, if I don't see you all after the night, have a good holiday.
We have another special recognition tonight that one of our own, Mr. Honeycutt, wants to give the presentation for.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, Mr. Nichols. Yes, I do have a presentation to make to a couple of individuals. A plaque of recognition for their service on our board. We've overcome a lot of milestones in the last 4 years, but I think we've done it maybe not all the time together, but at the end of the day, we wanted best what was for Mecklenburg County Public Schools. We've made a lot of achievements together, and I'm proud of the work that all of us have done thus far. So with that being said, I'd like to ask Mr. Johnson to come up first. Kenneth Johnson, I present this to you in recognition for your years of service to the children and community of Mecklenburg County. School Board Member, January 2016 to December 2019. Thank you very much. Kenny, hold on one second. Let's have you down here. At this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Sturdivant to come forward, please. Mr. Sturdivant, I'd like to present this plaque to you in recognition for your service to the children of Mecklenburg, children and community of Mecklenburg County. School Board Member, January 2012 to December of 2019. Thank you. Thank you.
And I too want to express, as superintendent, my appreciation to both of these board members for the work and the dedication that they've given over the past 4 years to the job. Thank you very much. And we're looking forward to continuing to engage you, even though we won't be on the board in the future. So, thank you.
All right. At this time, everyone that received a recognition, please come up. We'd like to have an opportunity to say hello. Continue on. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sturdivant. We have a few things on the agenda tonight, not too many. One of the more important items, though, is the Transfer Virginia guidelines from the State Council on Higher Education with Virginia. We're very pleased to have Dr. Michelle Edmonds from the community college that is going to be presenting this. Before she begins, I want to explain, why this is a very important topic. We've had many conversations among the board at times about the dual enrollment opportunities for our students. Dual enrollment is very important. We've had it in this area for a long, long time, and we appreciate the relationship that we have with the community college system. It's not been without its concerns at the state level through the past years, as the legislature has been working to try to push the universities to accept the dual enrollment. And the State Council on Higher Education has been working for, I think, the last year and a half on the whole idea of how we would work that out to make it much more easy to transfer from university to university, from community college to university, and to the dual enrollment to university. So they've come up with a plan. It will have, I think, significant impact on our students and their students' plans. That's why I've asked specifically that the counselors be in attendance tonight so that we could get the information, because it is going to call for some significant planning on the part of the students with the counselors as they look at their future. So I want to turn it over to Ms. Edmonds and let her give us a brief overview of the whole program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, members of the school board. It's my pleasure to be here with you this evening. I'm the administrator at Southside Virginia Community College, who is in charge of and overseeing the dual enrollment program. First of all, I'd like to start out with saying thank you all for the role that you allow us to play in your school division and the partnership that you have with us in providing dual enrollment credits for students in your county. It certainly has been of great importance to many people over the years. The landscape of dual enrollment is changing across the Commonwealth, and that is the most important thing that we need to understand here tonight. Dual enrollment is a program that has been in existence for over 30 years. As a matter of fact, I was a dual enrollment student many years ago as well, when dual enrollment first came out. And certainly it helped me back then, and it helps many of our students today. However, as dual enrollment has evolved and colleges and universities have evolved over the years, we need to take a critical look at how we do things and what we do with dual enrollment in order to make it as efficient as possible for students to achieve their educational outcome that they need. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a disclaimer here. This is not my presentation. This is a presentation that was done at the Region 8 Superintendent's meeting, but I do know a lot of information about it. Transfer Virginia is a partnership between Virginia's community college system, the State Council for Higher Education in Virginia, and also public four-year colleges and universities in Virginia. It came out of a joint legislative audit study, a JLARC study that was done approximately 2.5 years ago related to dual enrollment. Southside Virginia Community College was one of the schools studied in that. And one of the reasons why is because we do have a very large dual enrollment program, larger than most in the state. And out of that came some very, very good things, and I think that there are things that are very good for students as they move to four-year colleges and universities. And that is, they really wanted us to be sure, the colleges to be sure that when we provide dual enrollment credit, that it is of the same rigor, it is of the same the same caliber, and that students can have the opportunity to use that at the public four-year colleges and universities. So this is actually, Transfer Virginia is a legislative mandate from the General Assembly. It was sponsored by a House bill back last session. And it calls for the creation of the Transfer Virginia Project. The Transfer Virginia Project has three buckets that are going on with it, and I'm going to talk about those very briefly here. One of those buckets is going to be, and can I change these slides? Do I have the ability to change them?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
If it does,
One more? No, next one? Okay. The first initiative that comes out of this legislation is something that's called the Passport in the UCGS. The UCGS stands for the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. So basically, this is a general studies certificate, which Southside Virginia Community College already has. The Passport is a set of courses, 15 to 16 courses that are transferable and satisfy all lower division general education requirements at any public institution of higher education in Virginia. Now, the Passport courses are divided up into what we call them blocks. And these blocks mirror what a four-year college and university has now for general education. So what will happen with the Passport courses, and it's very important for you to understand that the Passport refers to courses. It is not anything to do with a credential. It is not a degree, it is courses. So we have courses that will be noted in our catalog that are Passport certified courses. That means that these are the courses that have been agreed upon by the four-year colleges and universities in an agreement with the community college system for them to accept these in transfer. So we will begin offering all of these Passport courses in the fall of 2020. And as we update our new catalog, parents and members of the school board, you'll be able to go on there and you'll be able to see what classes are in the Passport. Also, you will be able to see what courses that we teach at the college that are all dual enrollment courses, as far as any course that we have that is taught as dual enrollment. And this is not only for general education, it's also for career and technical education as well. So the Passport is the first part of the Transfer Virginia initiative. The next part is the UCGS, or the Uniform Certificate of General Studies. Basically, this is a 30-credit-hour community college program. It is a certificate, so it does have a credential attached to it. And this is basically, here again, it is more of a general education certificate in that it does satisfy all of those lower general education electives at the four-year colleges and universities in Virginia. And so what has happened is that the four-year colleges and universities and members of the 23 community colleges in Virginia have actually sat down at the table, and they have discussed every course that's going to be in not only the Passport but the UCGS. And they have agreed upon the learning outcomes for these courses, and they have agreed upon the transferability of these courses. And nothing like that has ever happened in the state. So we are very, very proud of the work that is being done there, because I certainly think it will serve the students very, very well. Looking at the Uniform Certificate of General Studies, there are 7 blocks in it, and these blocks are divided up into written communication, and there's a certain number of credits for written communication. If you want to advance the slide, maybe 2 more. 1 more. Here you go. This is the UCGS. So block 1 is written communication, so it would be 6 credits of written communication, and examples of classes that would be in that would be English, okay? One of the things that we have learned as we have been moving through this process, as I told you very early on, dual enrollment is evolving. Years ago, it was colleges wanted you to complete 2 levels of a class, so an English 111 and an English 112, or a History 121 and a History 122. what we are finding is that they want a more well-rounded student nowadays. And so because of that, they are not really supportive of the offering the courses in succession like that. They would rather for them to have one course in one thing and another course in another. It makes them a better rounded student, which I can understand that. So that is going to be something that we will have to look at here in the county as we plan the dual enrollment schedule for the coming year, and making sure that we have everything that we need for these students to get the maximum number of credits that they can. Block 2 is lab sciences. Of course, you understand what that is. Block 3 is math. Block 4, social and behavioral sciences. It's important to understand that the social and the behavioral sciences are specifically only the sociology and the psychology and those types of things. Sometimes you can count history as a social science, but it is not in these. It has its own separate bucket of history credits. Also, humanities, arts, and literature. You will note that literature is not part of the written communication piece. Literature is a separate bucket of classes. Also, you have the flexible institution-specific courses. Now, what the UCGS does is it allows a student to complete the general education credits and the general education courses that are necessary, but then they can go on to really complete courses in the major that they want to go into. And that's the important piece of this. These students, years and years and years of giving them all of these credits, and when I say credits, I mean all of these general education credits. They never got any credits related to their major. It was general education credits. And there are studies that show that students who get a taste of their major very early on in their college career have better success rates than those who do not, because they really get to feel and see what it's like to take courses like that. This is where the advising piece comes in, as Mr. Nichols talked about. The advising piece here is going to be critical, because once you move past the general education pieces, students will need to know what pathway that they want to go into. And these pathways can be varied. They can be transfer degrees, they can be applied associate degrees, they can be workforce credential degrees. It can be a number of those things, but students need to know what direction that they're going to move into. The community college, in partnership with the career coaches, will play a large role in advising students on potential careers and also the income that they may make, the contribution that they may make to society with it, and the employability that they have here, not only in our county, but throughout the state of Virginia and obviously the country. So those are going to be some important things that we're going to have very serious conversations about with students in advising sessions. And students earning an associate degree right now, it really focuses on general education, and that's what leaves those gaps in the major requirements. And so we want to work hard to lessen the gaps in the major requirements by being able to give students the initial classes that they may need for specific majors. Courses transferring as general electives a lot of times overfill their elective bucket. So if it doesn't apply to gen ed, it goes into electives. That bucket gets filled up very, very quickly. Our goal with this project is to not do that. We do not want to do that. Also, the sequence of classes, as I spoke earlier, often transfer as one course. So English 111 and 112 transfer as one course. History 121 and 122 transfer as one course versus two courses. So we'll need to look at that, and certainly we can be very flexible with trying to come up with options related to that. There are a lot of opportunities here for us to look at policies and procedures that will allow us to do what is best and right for students. We have to work together with our collective goals for students. And we also need to figure out how we can best serve the students earning some DE credit before graduation. Now, we need to be very careful here in understanding that students don't necessarily need to have a general studies associate degree. The certificate in general studies will get them to the point where they can go down the path to what they want their major to be or what they would want their associate's degree to be. And we need to work hard to find what the common themes are with students and to offer those to students potentially in the high schools. Certainly, career and technical education is not affected much by any of this. It stands out here alone in its own spot, and it's really not affected by many things other than any general education course that is in those career and technical programs will be passport certified courses, with the exception of ones that are very technical specific. So, also, it's very important for you all to understand, and this is something that historically I think the community college system as a whole has not done a good job of keeping students and parents aware of this, but we want to mitigate any and all financial aid problems that a student may run into down the road. We do not want them to get excessive credits for the sake of getting excessive credits. We do not want them to get an associate's degree when that is not, in general studies, when that is not where they want to end up. We do not want to put their future financial aid in jeopardy. Whether the students pay for the courses or not, they still count against their lifetime financial aid eligibility. And our goal here is to not put that in jeopardy. We do not want to do that. That is why we've got to have very careful planning when we move together to figure out what is best for the students to get them the most important things that they need in general education. So that was the UCGS and the passport. The other things that this legislation calls for is a universal transfer portal. This portal would be, and it's not developed yet, they actually have a contract on developing it, but it's a web-based portal where any student in the Commonwealth who has dual enrollment credit or any community college credit for that fact can go and place the course that they took into the portal, and it will tell them exactly where it will transfer to, what it will transfer for, and how much credit it can be that can be awarded. So that is really going to be very, very nice for students, for parents, for us as a college, because there's not going to be any what-ifs anymore or any unknowns, and that's what we were dealing with a lot with transfer. The other thing that that this project calls for, which is the last piece of it, which is the part that I'm probably the most excited about, and it is a pathway map from the community college system to a four-year college with a specific major. It will show exactly what courses need to be taken at the community college and then what courses need to be taken at the university in the major that the student would like. And it is a roadmap to get them there from point A to point B. And it is going to be, these course maps are going to be developed in collaboration with the four-year colleges and universities. So that's very, very exciting. The other thing that's very exciting about all of this work is that it gives the community college system an opportunity to work collaboratively with all the faculty among the 23 community colleges and the faculty at the four-year colleges and universities to develop universal learning outcomes that are course specific, so by course. So what is happening right now is that there are work groups that have been engaged over the past year, and this project will continue out for the next 3 years. And these work groups are based off of disciplines. So, for instance, right now we have the English work group working on all of the English courses. And they are looking at all of the common learning outcomes, what they should be, and looking at what the course structure should be like and what the course description is. And when we offer this a specific English course, when we offer that anywhere in the Commonwealth, it will be known as this is the course for the Virginia Community College System. These are the learning outcomes for it. And that's going to be very good for dual enrollment because it allows us the opportunity to be able to standardize much of what we do with course learning outcomes and ensuring quality and rigor across the school divisions and across the college. So we're very, very excited about those developments as well. And as I said, that's going to be a long-standing project, but it is one that is going on as we speak and will continue for the next 3 years. So There's one other thing that I just want to touch on very briefly. It doesn't really necessarily have anything to do with Transfer Virginia, but as you all may be aware, our governor announced free community college, or the College Promise program that he has put forth in his budget for the next biennium. This is an exciting time for community colleges in Virginia, and it's a very exciting time for students in dual enrollment, because what we've learned is that this particular program would also be available to dual enrollment students who take classes on a community college campus. They have to take classes in the areas that have been identified of high need and high demand, and those areas go along with the governor's G3 initiative. And the G3 initiative is get a skill, get a job, and give back. So what it does is it has a high focus on career and occupational technical. So the buckets that it looks at are healthcare, IT, public service like administration of justice, EMS. It looks at trades, things like electricity, electronics, HVAC, those types of things. And it allows students to get credentials and to get college credit, and then move from a level 1 credential to a level 2 credential to an associate's degree. And the College Promise program would be supportive of that. Now, obviously, it's in the budget, and we have no idea where the budget is going to end up, but this could really dramatically change the face of Southside Virginia Community College and the community college system in Virginia. So we're waiting to see what's going on with that, but I did want to share with you that that would apply in those career and occupational technical areas to dual enrollment students. And it is a last dollar funding effort. Obviously, dual enrollment students, even though their credits count as financial aid credits against their financial aid usability, they don't pay for it, but they would make the exception for the dual enrollment students to be able to use this last dollar funding. So that could be very, very, very beneficial to the school division, because you would not have to be paying as much as you do for students to come on campus. So we're very, very excited about that, and think that that's really going to do great things for all the schools in Region 8, because many cannot afford to support career and occupational technical programs like they have in the past, and so we are very pleased about that. Mr. Nichols, is there anything else that you would like for me to cover this evening?
Well, if you'd go back, we did get a real good glimpse at the classes that are in the bucket.
So here we go. This is the passport course list. So here again, they're developed into blocks, and this is not all the classes. They are in the process of adding passport classes as we speak. These are the preliminary ones. So in that block 1, there's going to be more than an English 111. There'll be other courses, but they're still in the planning process of agreeing on common learning outcomes and that sort of thing. So it's very much something that is a work in progress, and we will be adding to it. So you've got your block 1. Your block 2.
You don't need to necessarily go through all of them. I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware we have a list of those classes at this point.
Yes, we absolutely do. And again, as I said, we will be indicating what these classes are in the college catalog, which is online, and anybody can look that up as we do our catalog edits for this year. Yes.
And of course, we'll give the board opportunities to ask questions, but a couple of points that I think are very important. One is, as you've been talking about this, you've been emphasizing career pathways. And of course, that reinforces, in fact, even the 6 career academies that we've identified with the new school. It reinforces the importance of those that have been selected and how it will work out for the combination. One of the items there is people have asked why the college preparation component is not separate from the 6 career academies. You've explained it very well. This opportunity to get dual enrollment credit within that goes specific to the pathway that they want to follow so that the extra classes would count. I'd also like to point out that you mentioned there was a curriculum that will be developed for each of these classes.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that's most important. We've not had a curriculum in the dual enrollment classes before. We've identified that as one of the key parts about the AP as opposed to the dual enrollment. The curriculum is there from the colleges. This is providing a curriculum. that cannot be taken away from, but can be added to.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you mentioned the financial aid piece, which is important because we know that following these, even though it'll be much more difficult to, not difficult, but much more important to work with the students on creating a plan, it will help them long-term financially in many more ways as opposed to hurting them in some way. The last piece, which has not been mentioned, but you mentioned at our meeting, was this will look for a teacher evaluation from the college for our teachers doing dual enrollment.
Yes.
That will be new, and we'll need to work that piece out so that they would be evaluated by our administration as well as by some components of the other.
Correct, correct. Because at the end of the day, with any dual enrollment course, the community college is the owner of the dual enrollment course. And as the owner, we have the responsibility to ensure the quality and the rigor of the course, and that is of the standard that courses are as they are taught in a regular community college setting. So yes, we will have a very, very strong evaluation process as it relates to dual enrollment courses.
And this will be very important for us to get out to our parents, because you made it clear, getting the general certificate with these is going to be more beneficial than an associate degree.
Yes, and I believe also that you will find that it will be a little bit easier to narrow down how you may credential somebody in the school division to teach dual enrollment, because you're not looking across 2,500 courses, you're looking very narrow at a set of courses, and I think that that will be helpful. One of the other things I believe that we talked about, Mr. Nichols, is the ability to, that I hope this may bring amongst school divisions, to be able to share credentialed faculty through technology or through online courses or what have you, that could be beneficial to everyone. I will tell you right up front, the number one thing that is the hardest faculty position to recruit for and find someone for is physics. And physics is vital to anybody who is doing a STEM type of career or curriculum. And if we had someone who was credentialed in physics that could help the other school divisions, that would just be wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I think that is a very important piece to it as well.
Members of the board, any questions?
Ms. Bailey? Ms. Bailey, I'm sorry.
Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
Since this is a joint effort between the state council of higher education, why is it that there are still differences among our four-year universities in terms of what they will take? For example, JMU, and I'm just looking at, I went to one of your links, JMU, CNU, and William & Mary still, even though they're in your passport list of courses, are not going to confer credit for that.
Right.
Or they're not going to confer credit towards a general education requirement. And if it's truly why can't we all get on the same page?
Yeah, well, when this was started, it's my understanding that they kind of knew that William and Mary was not going to play along in the sandbox because they don't have any gen ed requirements at all, which is very, very interesting. They teach gen ed, obviously, but the requirements are not there as they are for other schools. JMU has, everything will transfer to JMU with the exception of one of the courses, and I cannot remember, I think it's
English 111.
Yeah, it's English 111, yes. And that's because they have a special communications course that they require all their students to take, and I believe that that's why.
Yes, I'm in the middle of that battle right now.
I'm sorry, I'm really sorry.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple more questions. You want to
Okay.
go to other members of the
Well,
board?
we can come back. Mr. Ritchie, and then we'll come back to you, Ms. Bailey.
I think maybe the superintendent got the answer for the one I was thinking about. The new emphasis will be more on the general studies certificate as opposed to the associate's degree.
Right,
Okay.
right. And the general studies certificate has always existed.
Right.
It exists today.
And what Ms. Bailey said, I guess all of the schools operate as their own, the academic freedom. They operate as their own entities, so they can pick and choose. Because they're not all the same. Their admissions requirements are different.
True.
And what they specialize is different. So I don't think that we'll ever get or expect them to get on the same page and accept the same courses for that sort of thing. But thanks.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes, Dr. Edmonds, first of all, thank you for being here this evening and sharing this information with us. And when you refer to, you all had spoken with other universities or coincided with them, that's Virginia colleges, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
It's exciting to hear what improvements they're making, because my biggest thing that I've heard since I've been on the school board is about the rigor part of it, is the rigor they are, our children honestly prepared. But again, it seems like it's more focused now on the gen ed studies, such as Englishes and maths and stuff, getting the prereqs out of the way. So if that child that wants to further their education to a higher university can do so. And my question is, we're working with this board now to prepare for the 2020 school year and moving forward to make sure that we have everything in place to fully enforce that for next year.
Very good.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank
That's
you.
why we're having this meeting tonight,
Okay.
is to make sure that we're beginning to get this information out along with the handbooks to the parents.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Bailey?
And we are just beginning now to overhaul our college website, which will have a large dual enrollment component on it, that where we will house the large majority of our information available to the public and as resources to students and parents as well.
Ms. Bailey?
Yeah. You mentioned financial aid cap
Yes.
for students. So when our students are taking dual enrollment courses, they're not eligible for financial aid.
Correct.
And so any dual enrollment course they take in Mecklenburg County is really not, doesn't count towards that. And if anything, the credits that they take with them to university shorten their time there. So I don't know how explain to me how present day dual enrollment is jeopardizing their future financial aid benefit.
So basically, present-day dual enrollment, because we have a degree that is largely made up of general education credits. It's the Gen Ed Associate's
Yes.
degree. We've identified that there are way more general education credits in that degree than a student probably needs. And as a result of that, we do not want them to come away with unused credits in their bag. So what we want to do is we want to put the right credits to be used there. And you asked a question about, since they didn't qualify or they couldn't use financial aid for dual enrollment classes, how can it count against them? Unfortunately, that is a federal regulation, and it is nothing that we have any control
count
over.
against them.
Yeah, it's a federal regulation that any course, any college course is you only get a certain number of credits in the life of financial aid for a student. And once you exhaust that number of credits, that's it for financial aid. So the example that we use a lot is, let's say, for instance, that I had a gen ed degree from dual enrollment, and I got that. And then I went to college, and I wanted to take, and I was eligible for financial aid then, and I wanted to take one more class, but I only had one more credit left in my lifetime maximum of
I see.
financial aid.
I see.
I would not be able to take that one more credit of a 3-credit class. You understand what I'm saying?
You can take it, you just have to pay for it.
Correct. And we do not want students to have to go through that. We do not. And a question that I get asked a lot is, well, why were you all doing this in the first place? It really wasn't that we were trying to do any harm or anything else. It is just the fact that that is how education has evolved over the years. And years ago, that was acceptable, and you could do that. But as it has evolved and has become more pathway and workforce related, and people really need to know where they're going very early on, it just sort of changed the landscape of everything.
Mr. Ritchie, we'll come back to you, Ms. Bailey.
Just what you were talking about, Wanda, I spent some time in the financial aid office at the community college. Like Dr. Edmonds is saying, the total credits you're allowed to have is completely separate from financial aid. It doesn't matter if you receive financial aid. And I had an example, is probably the easiest way to explain it. I had a student from Nottoway who was at Virginia Tech, and she went into engineering. And when she reapplied for a scholarship she had, they noticed that she had accumulated 160 hours total, not under, because of dual enrollment and everything else. And they said, we're not going to pay. for any more. You should have your degree by now.
I see.
And the federal is, they're very strict about how long you have to finish a degree, because they don't want people spinning their wheels.
Right.
It used not to be a big deal,
Right.
but
Thank
it
you.
is now.
All right, Ms. Garner?
I have complaints about kids that go to college where their credits aren't taken if they've done dual enrollment in high school. Have you ever asked the colleges why they did not take these credits?
No, ma'am. I have not. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
I have not. I'm certain that somebody probably has somewhere along the way, but I'm fairly new to this role, so I have not.
Okay, Ms. Bailey?
Just one last question. Do you anticipate that your course offerings might suffer because of the passport and the other bucket requirements? Do you anticipate, there are several classes that you offer that are not listed there. And traditionally, Southside has been kind of the, you go there and you spend a couple of years there and then you transfer to university. Do you anticipate your course offerings falling off because of this?
No, those courses will still be there. They just won't be a part of the UCGS or the passport. But a lot of those courses apply to transfer agreements that we have with applied degrees. And those are individualized transfer agreements from Southside to a specific school. A good example would be nursing. Nursing is an individualized transfer degree. So a lot of those courses will not go away. They still will exist. But what we think that is going to happen, obviously we don't know, but this is what we think is going to happen, is that we're going to have more course offerings, obviously, in the UCGS and the passport courses.
More sections.
Right, yes.
And again, it reinforces the importance of the career pathways that we work with students on to determine early, to make sure they're in the right ones and getting the right ones.
Very much so. The career pathway is key. It really is.
Does any other board members have questions? If not, thank you, Dr. Evans.
Dr. Evans, we appreciate it very
Thank you.
much. This is
Thank
a very
you.
important topic for us.
Yes, my pleasure to come and speak with you all, and thank you again for the partnership that you have with us. And if I can be of service to anybody or have any questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you.
I'm going to now ask Ms. Hendrick if she'd come up. Of course, she's been one of our, well, she's been our specialist for the counseling and things going through. She's going to talk about the Need My Transcript opportunity that we have for students that are graduates and looking to get their transcripts in.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members, and Mr. Nichols. I would like to take a moment to talk about the Need My Transcript program. It is something that I have looked at with the school counselors and the school counseling secretaries as a way for students, graduates, and third-party people to request a copy of their transcript. You do have a copy of the MOU on your board docs that you can take a look at if you like. The Need My Transcript is an online transcript request system and would provide Mecklenburg County Public Schools with a link to a URL that will allow anyone to go online and request a copy of their transcripts. This will be beneficial to Mecklenburg County Public Schools because the records request will process faster, easier, and more secure for your students, graduates. The current students currently can request a copy of their transcripts, but it's all done through paper. We send a form home, parent has to sign it, and it comes back. It is a very tedious process for the school counseling secretaries to track when a request is made, when the request is sent and received. This link will provide students the opportunity to request electronic transcript, to request a copy of the transcripts through the website while they're in class and spending time filling out a college application, or at their home with their parent or guardian. They can go straight online, fill out the request. It will then email the school counseling secretaries at both schools that Amy would like their transcript sent to JMU. There's no charge to the students for this process, for this fulfillment service. For graduates will also have the opportunity to go online and request their transcript. This is going to be very beneficial to those students who move outside of the county or state. Currently, they have to call, send in a letter formally requesting a copy of their transcript, and then have to send in a $3 money order check, or cash. They will be able to go online, pay the $3 with a credit card. Need My Transcript will then require that person to pay a $2 fee. So it'll be a total of $5, but they can submit everything online electronically. If that becomes a problem, the current procedures will still be in place. Someone will still be able to come into the office, pay the $3 cash. That will not go away. But this service will provide an easier, faster, more secure process for students and graduates to request those transcripts. It will expedite your turnaround times because it will provide a website where counselors can log on, see those transcripts, the transcript request, can document when it was fulfilled and how it was fulfilled. Sometimes we'll get students come back and say, Longwood didn't get a copy of my transcript. But now they can go online, we can show when it was sent and when these documents were received. This is going to be also important as we move toward our consolidated schools because it's going to make this process one. So both school counseling offices will have the access to the program. It will streamline this process and make it easier for everyone involved. It will provide users accounts and training sessions on how to use the owner dashboard. The current school counseling secretary sat down with me and actually participated in a Zoom meeting. And the convenience fee of the $2, like I said, is only charged towards graduates. There is a $5.95 convenience charge that Need My Transcript charges for third parties. So those are the ones that call and ask for employment verifications, background checks, things like that. So current students, there would be no charge, just like it is currently offered. The $3 for graduates is what Mecklenburg County Public Schools charges. That goes to the school counseling offices. The $2 convenience fee is charged by Need My Transcript for the total of $5. The third party, their fee is $5.95. We currently have the same $3 fee for those transcripts as well, but the Need My Transcript has suggested that we up the third party charge to $15. They say those organizations are getting anywhere from $40 to $50 to fulfill the request, and that we could up our charge to those third party and increase the revenue that we're also seeing from that. So the third party would get an additional charge from us of $15 plus their $5.95 if we decided to go that route. They provide for technical support to students, to the school counseling offices. So if they're having any problems with the website or they're having any process submitting a request for the transcript, there will be someone that can offer that support. As the school counseling secretaries have told me, they see a lot of benefits to this program. They are the ones responsible for filling the request, and they believe it will make the process faster, easier, and more secure for everyone. Do you all have any questions about the program itself?
Board members, Mr. Honeycutt.
Yes, when do you see us, Ms. Hendrick, implementing this program?
I'd like to have it implemented this spring. The Need My Transcript has everything pretty much ready to go. As soon as we get the approval to move forward with that, they will be able to have the website up and running for us within a matter of a couple days.
And how much is that going to cost the school system?
It does not cost the school system anything. It is a service that's provided free to the school system. The convenience fee is what the graduates or the third parties will pay. So your graduates will pay an additional $2 or the $5.95 for the third parties. Now, those third parties or the graduates could still come into our office and pay with cash to avoid that convenience fee if they'd like, but it does give them the opportunity to pay with a credit card, which is very convenient, and that is not an option now. We actually have people who want to come and get a copy of transcripts, and how many of us really carry cash, and they come in with a credit card, and that's not something that we can provide at this time.
Mr.
So it
Rick-
also gives us another service.
Mr. Ritchie.
So do they actually have access then to all our school records?
They do not, no.
So are they just collecting the fees?
They are collecting the fee and then offering us the fulfillment site. So to track when a request is made, and then when the school counseling says, I fulfilled the request and I have mailed it or I have emailed it, the requester then gets that email back saying, your school counseling office has submitted your request and emailed or mailed your transcript.
So that's the convenience fee they're paying for being able to use a credit card and having a way to track it online?
That's correct.
Any other questions? Ms. Bailey?
Yes, so how will we get the word out to people that this is now what we're using? Will it be on our web, I mean, how does that work?
It would be linked to our website, so both school counseling offices would have a way, just be linked to their high school pages. So when a third party asks now, they call and say, I need an employee verification for Mrs. Bailey. Name at graduation, this is her date of birth. Currently, those counseling secretaries have to stop. Parkview High School has to walk all the way down to the back of the library, pull their record, find a copy of the transcript, then call them back and give them that information. But when they call now, we can say, please go to the following website and please submit the form online.
Ms. Bailey?
One more. So, when we do fulfill a request, do they in turn pay us for, because typically we would charge for that service, right? So how
Correct.
often will we receive payment?
We'll get payment once a month. So at the end of the month, they have 28 days. At the end of January, whatever payments they received for the month of January, we would get payment by February 28th.
Okay. So there is a little bit of wait time there.
Correct.
And one last question. And I lost it. Go ahead, I didn't write it down, that's why I lost it.
Any other questions, board members? I have a question. How did you hear about this program?
So what happened is last year I worked on a project which helped us scan and digitize our transcripts. And throughout that process, I have learned that a lot of the other schools are going through similar projects. Some of them are using Parchment and some are using Need My Transcripts. It was also something we started to research when people would come in or live out of state and need a copy of their transcript. By the time someone mails the money order and the check, the turnaround time can be a week or more. So it was just something that I had researched last year throughout the process of digitizing our graduate records and found a need for.
Are there any other companies that you're aware of that does the same thing?
Parchment is the only other company right now that I am aware of that does the same thing.
And are they being used in our region, either of these?
They have not, no.
Neither one?
They have not, no, sir.
What other school divisions have you reached out to that's using this product?
This product right now, they told me there's 211 schools total that use Need My Transcript within the United States. There's only 3 that I heard of that use it in Virginia right now, but none of those are local to us. Some of the most recent ones a lot of them have started, some of them have started to go to Parchment, but they did not have this service before either.
Okay, what school division is currently using this? Have you reached out to see how it's going for them?
I've not reached out to any of them yet, but I just heard it was Radford and Bristol City were the 2 that, were 2 of the 3 that I remember that are using it.
Ms. Bailey?
Mr. Chairman, I think we won't be taking action on this tonight.
We will not.
Because we amended our agenda to do that. Would it be possible if staff could reach out to those divisions that are using it, just to get some type of reference
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
before our vote next month?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Hendrick.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Nichols?
Thank you, Ms. Hendrick. Other items that we have on the agenda for tonight are items that you've been presented with before and are available if you have questions about it. The high school math adoption program, Dr. Scales has presented. Are there any questions that the board would have before we have a vote tonight?
None?
Okay. Also, the Program of Studies, 2020-21 Program of Studies has been presented, and before we have a vote on that tonight, we'd like to know if anyone has a question.
Ms. Garner?
You know my complaint. Have you reached out to both guidance counselors to ensure that it is equal on both sides? That if you have a dual enrollment teacher here, you have one there.
We haven't gotten to that point because we're not at that point as far as with scheduling, but that'll be the primary focus. The program of studies I had talked about last month was going to have some AP, but there wasn't there. We took that out after discussion with Mr. Nichols. To again, what you have is purely a program of studies with all dual enrollment, honors, standard classes. There's no AP within the program of studies at this point, based on y'all's vote from previously. Right, but at this point, not until we can get a chance to get some numbers in to get balanced. We also haven't gotten to the point of as far as with staffing at this point, but that'll be the primary focus, is to make sure we've got a balance, to make sure that can happen, even if we have to get to a point where we have to Zoom like we've had in the past. That might be an option, but hopefully we don't. Hopefully we have certified teachers of dual enrollment for both sides of the county.
Ms. Bailey?
Dr. Scales, in light of Dr. Edmonds' presentation tonight, right now we offer ITE 115, and we also have offered an HPE that was dual enrollment. In light of the passport offerings that we saw tonight, neither one of those classes were in any of those buckets.
And that's what I was talking to her about right there. I'm setting up a meeting with her Thursday on what we have, and since she wants to work together with us, I'm going to her Thursday, and that's part of my discussion as to what offerings that we have now that we might need to look at. Can it be added at all to the UCG, as far as GS, as far as what they can do with that, or the passport?
Thank you.
Board members, any other questions? None.
The other item is the school calendar. Ms. Alga has been working with the schools on that piece of it. The schools have unanimously, the staff of the schools has unanimously been in support of option A, and I don't know if there are questions that the board has for Ms. Alga about either of those.
Any questions about option A, board members?
About option 1.
Option 1, yes.
Any questions? None.
Okay, and then as far as my comments, I sent out to you today the data that's come on the governor's proposed $1.2 billion investment in K-12 education. This is a huge piece of what we will be dealing with our budget plans for next year. There are lots of things in here related to the new standards of quality that we talked about last month. We have a focus in here for a 3% salary increase in the second year of the biennium for the standards of quality that will have to be considered. So there are many things in here that we will be working on. As Dr. Edmonds mentioned with the community college, none of this has been voted on yet, so we'll have to watch the biennial budget real closely as we work with the legislature. But I wanted to give you that information as we begin working on the budget for next year. And then the last thing that I have is, as you well know, we have scheduled a groundbreaking ceremony for Friday at 2 o'clock. We have had Ms. Giammattio spend a good amount of time working on the agenda that I've given each of you a copy of. I think it looks very good. It has a picture of the new school. It goes through persons that we are going to be asking to speak, and the copies that are there for the appropriate will be in this room, and then we'll take buses as we get through this component of it to the site for the shovel in the ground, or the shovel first breaking the ground, for pictures and things of that nature. We're very, very excited about this program. It's something that this board has been working on with the Board of Supervisors and administration for the past 4 years, and it's quite a relief to be at this point after the whole county's been working at it for a long, long time. So we're very, very excited and look forward to seeing you on Friday for this program. Any questions on this part?
I would like to compliment Ms. Giammattio on this. I did not realize until she said open it up, the picture of the school, but also some of the history on the side.
Right.
You did a very nice job. Thank you.
And that's mine for the night.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Next, we have chairman's remarks. Board, we have to do reorganization. We need to plan a date tonight for our reorganizational meeting. I believe the board is scheduled to have training on January 7th. It'll be preferred, or is it the 8th? Is it
7th.
7.
Ideally, the board should reorganize prior to that training. If you can look at your schedule, board, what date will work well? We're going to be voting on this we're going to vote it in tonight as well.
Can we do Monday the 6th?
We have Monday the 6th.
I have a question. What is the training on the 7th? I haven't
Is-
received any of that.
The training on the 7th is the board training that the VSBA offers each year, but particularly for new members, but it's good for all members to be able to go through and work with.
And they're coming here for that?
And they're coming here for that, yes.
Okay. What was the date, Mr. Honeycutt?
They're coming the 7th, but I suggest that if everybody's good, we could do Monday night, the 6th, and organize on that evening before the training.
January 6th? What would be a good time?
Do 5:30? 6.
6?
6.
Okay. We're going to vote on that for action. The reorganization is going to be January 6th at 6 p.m. Any questions about that? Exciting time for the new board. Mr. Allgood, Ms. Smith, come up to the podium, and if people haven't, you have an opportunity. The chairman is going to give you an opportunity to say a few words and present yourselves to the staff, our two new school board members. Ms. Smith. Ms. Smith is going to be taking my place, and she's going to do District 2 well. Ms. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Sturdivant, to the chair, the vice chair, to all the school board members, to Mr. Nichols. I am very happy to be able to represent our District 2. It's an exciting time to be coming on a board with the groundbreaking ceremony for the new middle and high school, because those of us who have been here for quite some time, such as I have really wanted this to happen down through the years. And for this to come to fruition is a dream. And I thank all of you who have been working up to this point for all the progress that we are now seeing in Mecklenburg County. So I want and pledge to do my very best. I've always been interested in our students here in Mecklenburg County, and I will always have that desire that they be the best that they can be and prepare for a global economy, a global world, as we are closely moving towards, that ideal situation. That they will leave Mecklenburg. We want some of them to be able to stay in Mecklenburg if they desire. And I think I see that down the line. I see the light at the end of that tunnel. And I'd just like to thank all of you for all that you have done. And I pledge to work with you. I'm looking forward to working with you and cooperating to have that closeness so that we can continue to move forward and get things done. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. Mr. Allgood, he's going to represent District 8.
I wanted to thank you all for all the work you've done. After 42 years of being on this side, I could see every shortcoming you all had. I second-guessed everything you did. Every superintendent has been an idiot pretty much since I've been a teacher, Paul excluded, Mr. Nichols. So, I'm tongue-in-cheek here, but it's easy to be an armchair quarterback and say, what were they thinking? Now I'm going to be sitting on that side going, what was I thinking? I look forward to working with you guys. Some of you, Mr. Palmer, my old principal and mentor. Dora Garner kept me straight in the halls, or tried to. I just look forward to working with all of you. I hope I can bring something to this board from the teacher's side of it, because that's what I spent my life doing. I love children. That's just why I explained to my wife, what was I thinking when I decided to run for this? I said, because I want to see our kids get a fair chance and continue to work well. And you guys have done a super job of doing this. I hope I can help add something to it. It's much easier to sit back here and second guess what you do. And I'm sure that any decisions that we make together will be second-guessed, and they'll be asking me, well, they just put another idiot on the board to go along with the other 8. He's no better than the ones out there. We thought he was going to make a difference. It's a joint effort. It takes all 9 of us. And like Ms. Smith, we've been friends and worked together for many, many years. And we will both be bringing to you what we can in a positive manner and trying to make things better. I look forward to this coming January. Thank you.
Thank you all. I can assure the both of you, I can assure this to you, that it will be different when you get on this side. And I'm going to have the pleasure of being on the other side, watching you all. We're going to continue on. The committee reports. The Junior Education Capital Improvement Committee.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Finance Committee.
Finance Committee met this afternoon at 5 o'clock. The main discussion was the partial of the budget and the payment of the bills, and the board will vote to pay the bills tonight.
That will be the recommendation of the Finance Committee. Item C, School Safety Committee.
Nothing to report this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. D, Gifted and Talented Special Education Committee.
Nothing to report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. CTE, Career and Technical Education Committee.
I have no report.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. Item F, Athletics Committee.
Yes.
Ms. Bailey?
Mr. Chairman, members of the Athletic Committee met with both high school ADs over the last 2 weeks to discuss ways the board could better support our athletic programs. This was also an attempt to prepare for the consolidation of our sports programs when we enter our new school in a couple of years. Mr. Ritchie and I met with Coach Barmoy at Parkview, and Ms. Garner and I met with Mr. Kirkland at Bluestone. There are procedural and policy inconsistencies at the present time, and these need to be addressed before we consolidate. Below is a list of topics that we discussed. I'll read those. The committee has uncovered some items that need further discussion and collaboration, which would best be accomplished at a joint meeting of middle school and high school principals, middle and high school ADs, the committee members, and the superintendent at central office at some date this coming spring. It is our goal that our policies and procedures regarding athletics, student athletes, and our coaching staff can be ironed out and go in effect for the 2020-21 school year. Some items that we discussed were coaching evaluation forms, athletic director evaluation forms, player exit interviews, a student athlete handbook, split stipends for assistant coaches, admin assignments for away games, the role of the AD in the hiring process, an equipment inventory, the national anthem being played at all of our athletic events, and the free admission policy for employees and family. The ADs would like to revisit this and possibly make changes to that. We may need a couple of meetings in the spring to work out all these details, but we need to start this process, and the committee's recommending to the full board that the superintendent schedule this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Mr. Ritchie, you have anything to add to that?
No, sir.
All right. We're going to move on to Instruction Committee report. Instruction Committee. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone for public input?
No, sir, we don't.
Thank you. Moving on to action. Action item A. Get a motion that the school board approves the minutes of the regular school board meeting held on November 18, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion for Mr. Edwards, second for Mr. Honeycutt. Roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Next item, that the school board approves payment of the bills.
The Finance Committee recommends payment of the bills.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Get a motion that the school board approves personnel recommendations. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Honeycutt. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? No discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Abstain.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes, with exception.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
No on information from the finance officer.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
No.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. We have removed the need for my transcript. We're going to move on to high school math textbook adoption. Get a motion to school board. Let's click on this thing here. Get a motion that the school board approves the high school math textbook adoption.
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Honeycutt. We have a second from Mr. Palmer. Any discussion? If none, roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Get a motion that the school board approves the middle school and high school program of studies. We have a motion.
So moved.
Motion from Ms. Garner. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Mr. Palmer. Do we have any discussion?
Yes, Mrs. Sturtevant. In this version that we are adopting, there are classes listed that sounds like we may make some changes to. So I'm willing to go ahead and approve it tonight, but this may not be the final version.
It can be brought up with an amendment to the board to consider.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that is my concern as well. Ms. Garner brought up a good point. I do want to make sure for 2020 and 2021 that there's no misinterpretation of what the board said. We want it equal on both ends of the county, no matter what. If it's Skyping, doing whatever, all of our children in this county deserve the same education, period.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second that the school board approves the program of studies with the understanding that may be an amendment to it in the near future. If no other discussion, roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Get a motion, the school board approve option 1 of the 2020-2021 school calendar.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Ms. Bailey, a second from Mr. Honeycutt. Any discussion? If none, roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Item H, organizational meeting. Get a motion that the school board selects January 6th at 6 p.m. for the organizational meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Honeycutt, second from Mr. Ritchie. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Ritchie?
Yes.
Mrs. Bailey?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Honeycutt?
Yes.
Mrs. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Edwards?
Yes.
Mr. Sturtevant?
Yes. Under the next item, December 23rd through the 31st, going to be winter break. School will be closed. January 1 through the 3rd, winter break, school closes. January 6th, teacher workday, no school for students, and a professional development day.
Excuse me.
January the 8th, schools open. January 20th, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, schools will be closed. 21st, regular school board meeting. Next, we're going to get down to board member remarks. We're going to start to our right. Ms. Garner.
Wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Mr. Ritchie.
No remarks.
Mr. Honeycutt.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Edwards.
You have a speech. I just want to say, it's really been a pleasure to serve with Mr. Johnson. I think he's been one of the, I've been here 16 years, he's probably been the most laid-back, quiet man to make some really important decisions that he's made. He didn't say a lot, but when he said something, it made a lot of sense, and I really respect that. We never had any arguments or ups and downs. It was always clearly stated, and I think it represented him well. I'd also like to say that Mr. Sturtevant, I've really enjoyed serving with him for the last 8 years. It's been a pleasure, and he's brought some things from a military background. He and I had a lot in common, and one of the best things that he did for this school system and for Mecklenburg County was that "In God We Trust" right there. He brought that to us. We put it up, and it means a lot to put that back on the wall of our schools, and I think I just want to commend him for doing that.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Mr. Palmer?
I kind of concur. It's been nice working with you two gentlemen. Even though you may not be with us as far as on the board is concerned, we do expect that you will be here in the audience. And knowing you two guys, I really do think that you're going to let it be known that you're out there. Other than that, everyone have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
I may take you up on that, Mr. Palmer,
I know
one day.
you will.
Ms. Bailey?
Yes, I just wanted to let everyone know that our budget training went well last week with Mr. Palmer, Ms. Garner, Mrs. Smith, and myself in attendance. And just be on the lookout for an email. There were some items of interest that we highlighted and that we would like our board to consider for future budget planning. And I'd also like to thank Mr. Sturtevant for his leadership this past year. And Mr. Johnson, thank you for your service, and I enjoyed serving with you. And Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. Mr. Nichols?
Yes, well, I too would echo, I don't usually speak at this point, but I too would echo my appreciation to both you and to Mr. Johnson for the last 4 years of the work we've been able to do together, and all the best to you as we move forward, as you move forward in whatever new opportunities to serve the community you take.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Mr. Johnson?
I'd like to say that I appreciate the 4 years. That was the reason I got on, and I think Mr. Allgood said tonight, the children that go to our schools. And a whole lot has happened in the last 4 years. We went from buying a piece of land, and this Friday, I think, will be confirmation of the whole thing when we go there for the groundbreaking. And I can leave in peace knowing everything is good and to be turned over to a good man to represent District 8. And anything I can do, Ricky, you can just give me a call, you can catch up with me, because I'm retiring from police work in 4 days. It's a whole different world. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. It has been a pleasure to work with this entire board. One of the battles of a board is bringing everybody together, because everyone brings something different to the table. We may not always agree on everything, but we've come together, and we're a lot stronger board than we have ever been. Mr. Johnson, I want to personally thank you for your 4 years of service. 8 years have gone by pretty quick with me, pretty quick, and we had many things we wanted to accomplish. The big thing I think this board would like to accomplish is not only bringing the board together, but bringing this county as a whole together under the consolidation of one high school, middle school complex. And it starts with each member on this board. It starts with every administrator and everyone in the community. As you look at this board, we have people to my left and people to my right. As I look into the audience, there are people to the right and there are people to the left. We all need to come together and be one board, one school division, and everything we do and plan should be for the greater good of all the kids. It has been an honor to serve Mecklenburg County. And Mr. Palmer, I may come back to visit one day in the audience, and I'll bring Mr. Johnson with me as well. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Meeting adjourned.